In the end, the probable best case for approving insusceptibility to the COVID-19 sickness is to verify or refute somebody has gotten the immunization after it has been created and sent at scale. As an augmentation of your verification of personality, your confirmation of well-being likely turns out to be much more significant than demonstrating what your identity is. However, simply as phony, false cases of well-being or inoculation will be widespread, and since there right now exists no comprehensively perceived standard for confirmation of well-being, one must be made. Trust less and verify. There's an inside joke in open-source programming improvement that the test with any open standard is there are such a large number of to look over. Take USB, the Universal Serial Bus. For what reason do we have such huge numbers of kinds of general arrangements? USB small scale, smaller than expected, A, B, and C. Presently, envision attempting to get each nation's head of state and human services authority to all adjust on an all-inclusive standard for demonstrating one's insusceptibility. Simple, isn't that so? Presently attempt to envision guaranteeing each nation will actualize as per this settled-upon standard. Bit of cake. Presently attempt to envision each nation confiding in each other nation. No doubt, no. On the off chance that the verification of a resident's medicinal services information is put away inside a country-state's server farm or even a revenue-driven cloud supplier like Amazon's Oz or Microsoft's Azure, in what manner can the outskirt watch operator know for sure that the sweep of an individual's confirmation of well-being declaration is legitimate? They can't. Rather than depending on a brought-together position to guarantee that somebody's well-being information has not been adjusted, altered or even dependably accessible, the verification of one's well-being must stay on a decentralized, shared circulated record, otherwise called an open blockchain. Set your evidence of insusceptibility as hashed and put away as a substantial exchange on an open chain. These chains are issue open-minded, all-inclusive excess, carefully designed and shared, which means, no concentrated power or system can force or obliterate them. Verification of well-being might be the main true use case supported by evidence of stake. We need small steps to arrive. However, Apple and Google have as of late collaborated to commence the way toward advancing cell phone use and customer conduct to add to worldwide well-being and insusceptibility through contact following. Furthermore, indeed, protection is a significant concern, however at any rate they are focusing on solid cryptography in its execution. Clinical Facilities 2.0. As of late, I required a MRI to either verify or refute I had re-torn my ACL in my correct knee. The procedure was mind-numbingly bygone. I'll save you the subtleties, yet what struck me as altogether in reverse was that I was given the MRI pictures on a CD-ROM. I haven't had an optical drive in my PC in at any rate 10 years, so I inquired as to whether they could basically email them to me. They proved unable. Coincidentally, this happened in San Francisco, the focal point of mechanical advancement. Clinical offices have been abandoned mechanically as about each other industry has experienced its own advanced change. Indeed, even money, commonly one of the most traditionalist ventures as it identifies with change, has significantly improved its innovative ability as confirmed by its capacity to adjust to a remote and confined workplace about overnight. Since coronavirus struck the U.S., Goldman Sachs noticed that 98% of their whole workforce is currently working remotely. The CEO of Morgan Stanley is in any event, re-examining their office land portfolio as he states, "We've demonstrated we can work with adequately no impression." More on this later. However, clinical professionals and supporting staff laborers can't just work from home, yet there is no explanation offices don't have to take after an old scene of How could it be that we realize the quantity of accessible parking spaces in a Whole Foods parking area, yet we don't have the foggiest idea what number of ICU beds are in a medical clinic? By organizing national well-being as a national security issue, existing organizations and new companies can serve the computerized change and support endeavors of our country's clinical offices. Not at all like the result of the worldwide money-related emergency where progressively guideline was added to the budgetary part, many years of guideline will get stripped, tempting much greater speculation dollars to stream to this modernization work. The assignment will be titanic, however, on the off chance that Americans share the basic enthusiasm of crushing the foe, the infection and future infections, we will probably observe an assembly around the fortress of our medical clinics, which likely empowers numerous people to return to work or find another line of work out and out in medicinal services barrier. Common laborers division, cloud versus land. The impacts of the about national shutdown of the U.S. economy has uncovered the delicacy of the work advertised as more than 20 million Americans petition for joblessness benefits inside the initial a month of the asylum set up or stay-at-home statutes, a stunning number. Evaluations place the joblessness rate somewhere in the range of 18 and 20%, a rate impossible only 2 or 3 months back. What's all the more telling, however, is the people that have stayed utilized and, to be specific, the sorts of employments they have. Most of desk employments have to a great extent moved from an office to a work-from-home condition, as typically in-person gatherings can really be directed over video meeting utilizing items like Zoom, Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams. Email and informing has consistently been non-concurrent. A call as a final retreat. Most of these laborers' everyday assignments are encouraged and overseen in the cloud. Then again, basic organizations that have stayed open are to a great extent manual employments, especially conveyance individuals. Instacart, Walmart, and Amazon are largely recruiting in the several thousands to help overpowering interest for conveyance of merchandise running from children's riddles to staple goods. Most of these laborers' everyday assignments occur ashore. What's more, there you have it. The most recent emphasis of the workforce isolating line, what was at one time the shade of your neckline is currently whether you chip away at land. A silver coating for the land laborers might be a resurgence in unionization, as it shows up the 60-plus year decrease in organization enrollment began to base around 2016, with an uptick in organization enrollment, for the most part determined by millennials, picking up energy. The infection has constrained organizations to respond rapidly to the requests of their workers and additionally temporary workers. Laborers at Amazon and gig laborers for Instacart have arranged strikes, mentioning individual defensive hardware while at work and well-being, and budgetary help if they somehow happen to get contaminated with the infection. Indeed, another workers' guild, Out and Out, Gig Workers Collective, is looking for 501(c)(3) non-benefit status and intends to be the center to the battle for reasonable compensation and better treatment for all gig economy laborers, from Instacart shoppers to Lyft drivers. The pendulum towards work rights seems, by all accounts, to be swinging back. Overabundance capacity right arrow on demand, corporate office edition. Over the past 12-plus years, we've seen a longing by shoppers and in the long run organizations to diminish the requirement for inert, or abundance limit of products or administrations and move more towards more prominent proficiency through on-request use. Take Uber. Or then again Airbnb. Or on the other hand even distributed computing. Or on the other hand even above and beyond, fleeting or serverless registering. This significant move has totally upset whole businesses, for example taxis, while likewise preparing shoppers to anticipate an on-request, rent-capable way of life. However, this pattern hasn't been received by the business land and office space area. WeWork endeavored to make less expensive office space, however their model didn't really work out, as their business was less about using abundance limit and increasingly about abstracting endlessly the agony of renting office space. Breather, then again, has been flourishing, riding the pattern of on-request workspaces, accessible constantly. In any case, Breather's intended interest group isn't Morgan Stanley or AT&T. What's more, presently that such a large number of these organizations' representatives work in the cloud, the initiative groups are beginning to truly investigate the requirement for inactive limit. Committed work areas and workplaces are inefficient as well as a risk. Envision an organization's present work-from-home prerequisite as revoked and everybody is mentioned to return to work just to have somebody taint one or many different representatives with a dangerous infection. The lawful dangers here are huge and likely point of reference setting. I speculate we see numerous organizations that have cloud laborers meet just dependent upon the situation, which will in any case no ifs, ands or buts happen. However, the times of clerical specialists being required to go to the workplace from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday are a distant memory. What's the effect on business land? It's impossible to say, however, on the off chance that the shopping centers are a main marker of what happens when a blocks and mortar center business moves to the cloud. The standpoint isn't ruddy. Professional training thrives, universities unwind. Driving laborers to return to the workplace isn't only a lawful obligation for organizations, however, it's an enormous hazard for schools and colleges too. Envision expecting understudies to sit in an auditorium encompassed by potential hosts of a deadly pathogen, individual understudies. Be that as it may, the infection is just the first of numerous issues confronting conventional advanced education. To start with, the expense of an advanced degree keeps on rising and is to a great extent exorbitant for most understudies, compelling huge numbers of them to assume generous obligation to acquire even a 4-year certification. The understudy advance obligation itself is presently a beast bubble obscuring $1.641 trillion as of the finish of 2019. In addition, renowned colleges have as of late been considered responsible by the federal government. The same number of wealthy guardians have been arraigned and indicted for paying off their children into these select schools. The sparkle reflecting from an understudy's certificate from Stanford or Yale is still brilliant, yet it has surely lost a touch of its gloss given the negative press and significant expense of participation. As an ever-increasing number of understudies perceive the new division of work range, cloud versus land, and take a gander at the choice of entering the recently restored local assembling industry or even the social insurance protection segment, will a news coverage degree from NYU with over $150,000 in the red be close to as appealing? Enormous open online courses or MOOCs, articulated MOOCs, have been becoming exponentially over the previous decade as far as participants and territories of study. You would now be able to get a graduate degree or an expert testament in bunch subjects. MOOC participation will just quicken post-coronavirus as increasingly more remote learning happens at the essential training level. However, more critically, these MOOCs can contact an a lot more extensive crowd for a small amount of the cost and altogether kill the medicinal services dangers related with understudies corralling in an auditorium. As a little something extra, MOOCs can use the advantages of present-day innovation including computerized reasoning administrations like programmed language interpretation and improved availability highlights for outwardly or potentially aptitude-debilitated people. However, advanced education is just a single portion of the riddle, re-preparing our workforce on current assembling methods and hardware and mechanical technology activity is a professional ability that will be frantically required. Envision attempting to manufacture an iPhone at home. The prerequisites are not simply the will to produce at home and furthermore acquiring the crude materials like uncommon earth components. However, assembly line laborers need to see how to gather utilizing best-in-class hardware. The US is path behind here. In the event that the US is not kidding about making sure about its gracefully chain by means of local assembling, laborers should be prepared and re-prepared at a gigantic scope utilizing the most recent advancements and methods. China has aced the cutting-edge manufacturing plant mechanization line. Maybe the US would need to direct mechanical secret activities on the Chinese to try and see how to effectively fabricate. A between-time arrangement? Put resources into network and professional universities to instruct and prepare this new army of assembly line laborers. Honestly, the more elite class of instruction, the Ivy League, and the more reasonable and versatile junior colleges and professional schools will even now keep on flourishing in the close to term. However, the center will endure, as effectively confirmed by the fall of Hampshire College and the end of Concordia University. These colleges have littler blessings yet more terrible. Many have chosen to concentrate on vanity over a more extended term supportable business system. LSU constructed a languid stream. The University of Akron manufactured a sluggish waterway just as a 56-foot rock-climbing divider and relaxation spa. Gourmet food in cafeterias is currently table stakes. Thus, a greater amount of these colleges will be shutting their entryways as this degree of abundance starts to loosen up. E. Sports and D. Entertainment. Not long ago, I was lucky enough to go to the NBA All-Star Game. It was passionate, the Kobe Bryant tribute, pretentious, instances of abundance flourish, and animating, given the new top-pick game configuration. Much to my dismay, it might be the last NBA All-Star Game for a long while. I certainly need to not be right about this. Trust me. Be that as it may, by the lawful and well-being dangers related with enormous social occasions don't stop at the door to a field or arena. An infection couldn't care less if your group is bound to win the Super Bowl. Without warm imaging, verification of well-being and additionally momentary serological testing, I think that it's difficult to accept a huge number of individuals will assemble in fields to watch somebody get a ball. The undeniable arrangement is simply to have them play their games, however, without onlookers. Better believe it, right? Would you be able to envision Game 7 of the World Series? It's the base of the ninth inning, with 2 outs, the host group is somewhere near 1 run with a sprinter in scoring position, the check is full and the hitter is prepared and ready to leave a mark on the world, to a quiet arena. The game's business is intrinsically observer-driven. Indeed, even esports, computer games, titles draw countless individuals to fields to watch a monster screen. U.S. football itself might be commencing, no quip planned, the start of its common decrease in fame, like an example saw by enclosing the 1920s when boxing as a game crested the Great Depression, just as calls against the boorishness related with the game, at last pushed boxing out of the spotlight. We've seen this example previously. With the raising of mindfulness around the effect of crushing one's cap into another's again and again, CTE, combined with a downturn, may be the stuff to decrease the interest for the country's preferred game over the coming decades. I'm certain a large number of you will viciously dissent, however mainstream decays take decades, not years. Live games was the final grapple for Communicate TV. All day, everyday news is the main live occasion left, and like sugar, should just be devoured in extremely little dosages. With the retraction of sports, we are probably going to consider that to be of communicated TV, as we probably am aware it. This is certifiably not another idea, as line cutters and over-the-top spilling suppliers like Netflix and Hulu have been picking up steam throughout recent years. The repercussions for the publicizing business are likewise depressing. Source: Scott Galloway. Cinemas may become relics of the past, like what drive-ins were numerous years prior. Sitting in obscurity among outsiders and not knowing their degree of insusceptibility is likely not going to change for the time being. It is safe to say that you are carrying your kids to an auditorium to watch the most recent adaptation of Frozen? Unexpectedly, drive-ins have been flourishing in the period of coronavirus while cinemas remain completely shut. The pendulum is swinging back, a drive-in theater in Mall, Germany on April 6, 2020. Be that as it may, shouldn't something be said about movies? All creation in Hollywood has been at a stop for longer than a month at this point, which implies no new movies or network shows are being delivered. Verifiably, in the midst of downturn, speculation dollars stream into idea improvement like screenplays, however scholars keep an eye on just make up a small amount of the staff that is utilized by the film business. What occurs if Netflix and Amazon no longer have new discharges to keep their crowds snared? The individuals themselves become the substance makers. It ought to be nothing unexpected that we are seeing a blast in TikTok move difficulties and live floods of famous people on Instagram in this present reality where there is no live TV. TikTok is approaching 2 billion application establishments around the world. The quantity of digital broadcast memberships accessible has multiplied from 500,000 to 1 million in under 2 years. Regardless, content creation is moving ceaselessly from brought-together studios like Hollywood and under the control of the residents. Will a youngster in Seoul have the option to make a magnum opus like Parasite on their cell phone? I question it. In any case, the consideration will move for the present moment, and Hollywood will require a procedure as increasingly more innovation organizations commoditize the creation instruments like enhancements and sound plan for the layman. To wrap things up, music. With the wiping out of South by Southwest this year, the unrecorded music industry has basically imploded for the time being. There is no other method to depict it, as each visit, each show, and each celebration is presently dropped. Most advertisers will never recuperate. Popular music settings are shutting their entryways for good. Perhaps ravers were consistently one stride ahead with their notorious covers. Live Nation, a traded on an open market occasions advertiser and scene administrator, has seen its stock dive by 40% and has cut officials' pay rates while getting $150 million to endure the hardship. It's extremely hard to see the unrecorded music industry recouping rapidly, and when it does, it will never appear to be identical. Be that as it may, there is a repeating theme among each of the three of these significant zones of diversion: gushing. Esports will keep on beating comparative with customary games as increasingly more live games become carefully empowered. Xbox Live endured a blackout because of a monstrous flood in clients only half a month prior and keeps on choking new enlistments for specific games and encounters. With livestream systems like Twitch and Mixer, an ever-increasing number of players and at last observers will watch gamers contend live. Indeed, genuine NBA players as of late clashed playing NBA 2K Live to their fans on ESPN. The obscuring of these universes is dreamlike. For film and network shows, if that is even what they are called nowadays, spilling suppliers will keep on flourishing while communicate endures. Video spilling suppliers are bottomless: Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV+, Disney+, Hulu, Quibi, Roku, HBO Max, YouTube, and so on. The times of claiming either substance or dispersion are finished. You should have both to contend. Performers are live spilling appears. DJs are taking an interest in 36-hour, worldwide live spilling long-distance races to audience members around the globe. Quiet discos stretch out past simply wearing earphones and moving around individuals to wearing earphones and moving alone at home. Video as the new platform. Given the flood in utilization of video gushing applications and the extension of their utilization cases, going from medical checkups to cheerful hours, video will turn into the following significant innovation stage. We've seen this example before, most as of late with cell phones. For the past 12+ years, the cell phone has introduced another time of development and relentless rivalry currently commanded by a duopoly among Apple and Google. The worth made is in the several billions of dollars. Programming designers, content makers, influencer culture, portable shopping, installment suppliers and chip producers are only a portion of the consequences of the cell phone stage. For the following decade, video will be that battleground. It ought to be obvious with regards to why this reasonable plays out on the off chance that you've perused this far. However, video as a stage is still in its outset. Zoom has a SDK for designers. Slack does as well, Skype, Hangouts, and Teams. Past programming designers, a blasting subculture of custom foundations for gatherings, is warning creatives to add to the space. Remote learning is in its earliest stages, as teachers should totally patch up their procedure from addressing, testing, evaluating, and revealing. Video as the medium, not a study hall. Envision utilizing AI to shut out the sound of your pooch woofing out of sight when the conveyance individual appears, or utilizing AI to produce dropped parcels and filling in the missing sound when your association is flaky. What's to come is, as of now here, it's, not surprisingly, not uniformly dispersed. The introducing of the iPhone and more extensive cell phone industry made not just the following significant figuring stage for technologists and those on the outskirts, yet it carried with it essential changes in human conduct that has changed the course of history. For instance, it's difficult to envision that there was a period before the selfie existed. In 2006, utilizing a camera to snap a photo of yourself was uncommon. In any case, the iPhone changed that. Take the forward-looking camera of an iPhone and couple it with Instagram, an application that rewards you for what might ordinarily be viewed as narcissistic conduct by means of preferences and remarks, and a worldwide blast of self-recording conduct happens apparently for the time being. What originated from such an apparently guiltless social change? A great deal. Influencer culture was conceived. Adolescent wretchedness spiked. Cell phone compulsion expanded. Magazines to a great extent shut down as Instagram turned into your perpetual, exceptionally customized and focused on advanced Vogue, GQ, Sports Illustrated, Cosmopolitan, Economist and Playboy, all enclosed by one. Did the selfie itself cause this? Obviously not, yet human conduct changes like the selfie are what I will in general search for as innovation stages appear and grow as proof of bigger cultural changes do not too far off. The worldwide society changed drastically because of what seems, by all accounts, to be an innocuous change in human conduct. What social changes are coming post-coronavirus? Our collective global behavioral change, people that have been in consistent movement for quite a long time have been compelled to a pounding end because of an imperceptible adversary that manufactures doubt among any individual who wheezes close by. The repercussions stretching out from this are significant. Have you discovered your pressure raised when you go to a supermarket? Did you bring your children along? Do you judge individuals on the off chance that they aren't wearing a veil? Have you deceived a piece and driven someplace that wasn't fundamental? Have you worked out and loosened up all in a similar room in your loft? It is safe to say that you are tipping conveyance individuals more. Did you become a conveyance individual? Did you prepare bread? What about a home improvement venture? Did you manufacture an improvised office or really utilize your home office? At the point when we watch major conduct changes as a worldwide society, it makes huge chance and potential, just as the finish of abundance and delicate belief systems, customs, and organizations. Take influencer culture, an uncontrollably well-known industry that advanced out of the cell phone stage. Is that whole industry now dead? An exceptionally famous and wealthy blogger was as of late killed by her supporters and the media for reporting her COVID-19 testing experience and withdrawing to her home in the Hamptons, leaving her Manhattan living arrangement. Another influencer essentially came up short on comments. Shouldn't something be said about design? Given the potential for serious gracefully chain interruption, do quick design outlets, for example, Zara and H&M, endure? Do people become increasingly productive, or do the majority keep on following uncontrollably overrated design houses? Do athleisure lines advance to a WFH recreation line? What does your cover say about you? Is it true that you are speaking to your preferred games group or Louis Vuitton? What clan do you have a place with in any case? Also, discussing clans, another result of the coronavirus is that the United States plane-carrying warships are at present immobilized. Will we experience our first motorized war? Why place your soldiers in a submarine or tank when an automaton can accomplish the work for you? Additionally, we have been preparing our childhood for quite a long time with our esports rivalries, all things considered. To wrap things up, we've reached top city. San Francisco is likely the perfect example for why we will start to see the pendulum swing ceaselessly from people moving to thickly stuffed urban communities towards relocating only outside of them, sufficiently close to in any case increase a portion of the advantages from the city, yet without the extraordinary expense and well-being dangers thickly populated regions give. San Francisco is by a wide margin the most costly city to live in the United States, but then, it is shrouded in excrement, which is known to empower coronavirus transmission, and covered with utilized syringes. With most of employments in SF being those in the cloud, for what reason would one decide to live in a spot this way? New York City, but cleaner and less expensive than SF, is seeing a significant number of its inhabitants reevaluate remaining. The pendulum is likely swinging back home on the range. The conduct changes originating from the current and post-coronavirus will drastically shape various aspects of our regular daily existence, from work to diversion to social insurance. There is no returning to typical. We are past that now. I am uncontrollably hopeful about our future as the open door set currently introducing itself from this emergency as a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity for business, however expressions of the human experience, inventiveness, and mankind as a rule.